But I got some good news. We are going to be joined right now by my man, Merrill Reese. And if you're on TikTok, head on over to YouTube because I can't bring Merrill on. What's up, Merrill? Welcome to the Power Hour, my man.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing good to see your face. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
So I got to ask you right out of the gate, how are you feeling? We're a couple weeks in now, not even a couple weeks, about a week and a half into the NFL official offseason. How are you feeling about the Eagles?
I like everything they've done. I really do. I mean, there's things that I am in a wait and see approach. I mean, I don't know that much about a Bryce Huff. How much have we seen him? He's been a part-time player for the Jets, but he certainly enters as an area as an edge rusher where they're going to need some help. I like the Saquon Barkley thing. Saquon Barkley is a great player, still is a great player, and he's a 3-down back. I'm excited to see him in an Eagles uniform. And I think that the latest pickup of Kenny Pickett is very solid. It gives them a very solid quarterback room.
Yeah, I like the Kenny Pickett move as well. And we've talked about it on this show before. Look, the point of a backup quarterback is to be able to step in if your starter goes down for a game or two and try to win you a game. Kenny Pickett's certainly capable of doing that. And I know there were some people who said, oh, they should have made the move for Justin Fields. I wasn't one of them. So would you rather have a Kenny Pickett than a Justin Fields?
Yes, absolutely yes. I did not want Justin Fields here because I thought Justin Fields, who I think is a very talented quarterback, I think he would have created some controversy. First bad pass by Jalen Hurts. You could bring in Fields. We want Fields, because people in their minds, most fans in their minds, think of him as an immediate star, the guy who came out of Ohio State. But I'll tell you something. I think that Pickett is the right kind of guy you need for this team, and he's accepted being part of this quarterback role. I don't think Justin Fields. I don't know him personally, but just the mindset that Justin Fields seems to have is not one who's going to be content sitting behind anybody. I think Kenny Pickett views this as the right place to be, understands his role, and still feels that if he does things well here, eventually his opportunity will come to be an NFL starter again someplace.
Yeah, and you mentioned, too, Saquon Barkley. You're excited to see him in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, and now you have Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. What do you expect to see from Saquon Barkley this season?
I think Saquon Barkley is going to be special. I think Saquon Barkley is going to thrive running behind the best offensive line he's ever run behind. I think a difference.
Oh, you froze on me for a second. And then there's reports last night from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN that the Eagles have delayed Hassan Reddick's $1 million roster bonus until April 1st. So fans are losing their mind thinking they did this because they are going to try to trade Hassan Reddick. Would you like to see them try to keep Reddick?
Yes. Excuse me. I really would. I believe that Reddick is a terrific football player. I think he wasn't used properly last year. I don't think Hassan Reddick should be dropping back into coverage very often. And I think he's one of the most prolific edge rushers we've had here in a long time. I love the Hassan Reddick of 2022. I mean, he was great. He was one of the reasons they ended up in the Super Bowl. I mean, all told, he ended up with close to 19 sacks.
Yeah, and two big ones that knocked out Brock Purdy and the backup quarterback. What was it, Josh Johnson in the NFC Championship game? Reddick was all over the field that day.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that they lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl was because of the field, or whatever you want to say, he was unable to get the traction, and his pass rush didn't get to the quarterback, didn't get to get up there and pull apart Patrick Mahomes. But I thought that was one of the things that was missing in that Super Bowl. But he was a key factor. He was an impact player throughout the season.
And staying with the edge rusher position, Howie Roseman spoke at the Combine a couple weeks ago, and really made a point to talk about Nolan Smith and that they liked what they saw from him in the playoff game. What do you think we're going to see from Nolan Smith in year 2?
Well, I hope we see a whole lot more than what we saw in year 1 because of a combination of injuries and a lack of opportunities. We didn't see very much of him at all. But he was a talented player, a productive player at Georgia, although he was injured in his senior year there. So hopefully, I mean, as Buddy Ryan said years ago, durability is as important as ability. And that's got to be the case with Nolan Smith. And that's got to be that's got to be the case this year with Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean, right before you came on, I was talking about the linebacker position because we still don't really know what we have in Dean, and now the Eagles make a move, 1-year deal for Devin White. What do you think about the Devin White move?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. The name excites me because we remember the Devin White that came out of LSU. We remember the Devin White, who was the 5th player taken overall in the draft, and how well he played as a rookie and maybe the first few years of Tampa Bay. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know. Sometimes a change of venue will really make a big difference to a player. And hopefully that's the case. Devin White is a very talented linebacker, and he's still, 26 years old? I mean, he's in his prime. So hopefully the Devin White we see is that Devin White, not the one who hasn't been very productive in the last few seasons.
The interesting thing to me is one thing that Devin White does really well is blitz the quarterback. And on Tampa, with Todd Bowles calling the defenses, they blitz a lot. We know Vic Fangio doesn't. So do we expect to see Fangio maybe do a little different things this year and blitz his linebackers if you bring in a guy like a Devin White?
Yeah, Bill, I honestly can't answer that because I have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Because very often a coach will build his defense around his talent. And you would think that's what Fangio is going to do. I don't think he's necessarily set in one particular scheme, one particular way to play. I think he will look this summer at what he has and make his scheme fit the ability of the people that he has on the field.
And talking about fitting your scheme to the ability of the people on the field, they also bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who we know has a lot of versatility. He could play safety. He can come down and play that nickel corner. What'd you think about the reunion with CJGJ?
Well, I think he's an upgrade, and I think he's a ball hawk. That's the thing that you get with CJGJ, the fact that he seems to have a sense of where that pass is going. He's in the right place at the right time. He freelances a little bit from time to time, and he's not the surest tackler in the world, but he is a guy who has great football instincts and does fit into the category of a ball hawk, and they can use that.
So he's at the safety position, maybe nickel corner, and then you look at the outside corners position, and this season, Isaiah Rodgers, we're hoping gets reinstated. We haven't heard anything about that yet, but what do you know about Isaiah Rodgers, the corner they picked up from the Colts last offseason?
Not much, except that he had some success earlier, and then he was suspended. That's the only thing I know. I don't know a lot of about him or what he's going to do when he gets here, other than the fact that he is a guy supposed to be a guy with a lot of talent. So we'll see. I also wouldn't be surprised to see the Eagles address the secondary in the draft. The last corner they drafted in the first round?
Lito Shepherd, if I'm not mistaken.
2002.
It's crazy.
You remember that draft?
They took Lito and Sheldon Brown.
They took Lito and Sheldon Brown, and how about their second pick? Michael Lewis.
Wow, they went three secondary players in a row.
And then who'd they pick in the third round? See, I'm testing you.
I don't remember that one. So they had.
You don't remember that one?
Who'd they take in the third round? Was it Westbrook?
It was Westbrook.
Pretty damn good draft, Merrill.
That was one of the great drafts in Eagles history. Look at that 2002 draft. Now, look, I think Howie's had some very, very good drafts. I think these last two drafts will prove to be good. Carl Peterson, who went on to become the president of the Chiefs for a while. Carl used to tell me when he was here that to really judge a draft, you have to look back 3 years. You have to look back 3 years to tell you what you really got out of a draft, because sometimes a player comes on like a fire engine that first year, and then never hear much from him after that. Other times, a guy progress. Look, I'll give you a great example of a player who was almost, I say almost, but almost considered a bust.
I know who you're going to say. Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham.
Yep.
Who will one day be at least in the Eagles Hall of Fame, who is going into his 15th season. So you don't know. Some guys come out quickly, and then you don't hear from them again. But look, I've seen guys who were undrafted free agents, and a couple of years later, they were playing at a pretty high level. One guy who I hated to see leave was T.J. Edwards. He became a pretty serviceable linebacker. Now he's in Chicago.
Yeah, I really like T.J. Edwards. That was a move last season. I knew they were going to lose a lot of free agents, but that was the one I was most upset about, because I did like TJ. And you saw what the defense looked like last year without him in the middle. Let's hope they can solidify that linebacker room. Do you think they're done making moves at linebacker?
Are you talking about in free agency?
In free agency, because what I've been saying is, look, I'd like to see them draft a linebacker, but even if they use their number one pick, which I don't think they would do, you still have a bunch of question marks at linebacker. You'd have a rookie, you'd have Nakobe Dean, who's really only played a very few amount of snaps in his 2 seasons. You'd have Devin White that we don't know what we're getting. You got Ben Van Sumeren, who was a fullback a couple years ago. So could they make a move either via trade or free agency to bring in another veteran linebacker?
I wouldn't rule it out. I certainly wouldn't rule it out, but they're not going to pick up somebody who's just a linebacker. They're going to pick up a linebacker who they think can fit in and really be right away, be productive. They're not just going to shoot wildly and hope that they hit the right linebacker. I think they do a lot of due diligence on these different players. So we'll see what they come up with. But I don't say it's going to be. It would be completely mind-boggling if they picked a linebacker in the first round, because they haven't done that. Do you remember? Do you know who the last linebacker they drafted in the first round was?
Oh man, it's got to be going way back. I would think to the 90s, wouldn't it? It couldn't have been. I don't remember any linebacker that they took in the first round.
Okay, now you may not even remember him. Okay. His name was Jerry Robinson.
Wow, how long ago was that?
That was under Dick Vermeil.
Yeah, so they're not taking a linebacker in the first round this year, I don't think.
He was a 3-time All-American from UCLA and went on to a great career. Jerry Robinson. He was it probably was 1979.
Yeah, I'm getting it in the chat from somebody. 1979, Jerry Robinson. Well, you've been covering this team for a long time, Merrill. What is this season going to be?
It's since 1879.
What season is this for you coming up? How many years?
48.
How many?
Only 48.
Wow.
And you know what? Bill, I love it as much as ever, and I have no intention of retiring.
I love it. Well, let me ask you. Week 1, game 1. You're going to Brazil. You ever been there?
I've never been. No, one of the few places I haven't been for golf.
Yeah, for golf. You getting out there at all? We got some nice weather earlier in the week.
Like last Wednesday, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was nice. I got to get back into it. See, now I do this radio show on Saturday and Sunday mornings. It's killing my golf game, Merrill. Killing it.
Well, there's a price to pay for some of this.
Yeah, there is. So wait, are you bringing your clubs to Brazil?
No. No. I can't bring my clubs anyplace. You think Mike and I are allowed to bring our clubs on the team plane? No.
Yeah.
No. And plus, I'm not sure any of us really want to leave the hotel in Sao Paulo. I don't know. I don't know how friendly an atmosphere that will be.
Yeah, we'll see. I think there'll be enough Eagles fans there to protect you, though, because our fans travel well. You know that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in Brazil, but That's a strange place to start the season.
Yeah, and it just got leaked. I guess you could say leaked. There was a Cleveland Browns player on a podcast yesterday, and he said on the podcast, well, we're playing in Brazil this year. So now everyone's taking that and saying, well, the game must be the Browns and the Eagles. Is that confirmed? Have you heard anything?
It's not confirmed, but that's the team that I have heard whispered for the last few weeks. It probably will be the Eagles and the Browns, but I can't say that with any degree of authenticity. Nobody of official capacity has told that to me.
Yeah, I kind of hope it is the Browns. I was worried it was going to be the Packers, and I want the Packers at the Link. We actually need a real home game, I think, against the Packers.
Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah.
Before I let you out, we're talking about the Packers. What NFC team are you most concerned about heading into 2024? I know things can change. We still have the draft. There's a lot more offseason roster changes, but which team concerns you the most right now?
Well, you have to say San Francisco because they were so good last year, and they buried the Eagles. They were the team that started the Eagles downhill when the Eagles were 10-1 at the time, and then they took them apart. Eagles got off to a quick start but could only put 2 field goals up. And from then on, it was the 49ers. And I think the 49ers really set up a template for the teams that followed in how to beat the Eagles. You blitz them and you do this, and you do that, and you run it down their throats. I think you have to still say the team to beat in the NFC will be the 49ers. However, I think the Packers are much better. They made a big step last year, and Jordan Love turned out to be a pretty good quarterback. In the NFC East, I don't know. I still think the Eagles will go in as the team to beat in the NFC East.
And if the Eagles do win the NFC East, how many years will that be now where we haven't had a back-to-back winner? Over 20-something years, right?
It's a long time. You're right.
Man,
You're
crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Merrill, I know you are a busy man, so I do appreciate you making time for us today. I knew the Power Hour crew in the chat would be happy to see you and hear that voice we've been hearing for 48 years calling the Eagles games.
Yeah, this will be 48, but who's counting? But
I love it.
I still love it. I still love every single second of it, Bill.
Well, we still love hearing you, so I appreciate you making time, my man. Tell Matt I said hello, too, over at the station.
I will. You stay well.
Thanks, Merrill. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
The all-time great Merrill Reese joining the Power Hour for the first time. He is the best, man. I mean, we really are a spoiled fan base when it comes to who's been our voice of teams. We have Merrill Reese with the Philadelphia Eagles. We had Harry Callis for the Phillies. We had Gene Hart for the Flyers. I mean, you talk about some of the best voices. I still miss Harry Callis, man. I miss Harry Callis so much. There was just something about Harry Callis's voice that just reminded you of baseball. I mean, he was, you figure, we got Harry Callis and Merrill Reese in this town. We are extremely lucky. But Merrill Reese does a great job going to Brazil this year in his 48th year calling Eagles games. Now, he mentioned the team he's worried about in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers. And if you missed it, a clerical payroll error by the 49ers is going to cost them a 2025 fifth-round pick, and it's going to reduce their 2024 fourth-round pick. How the hell does this happen? So the 49ers made a mistake last year when calculating their total player payroll, and now they're going to pay for it. Via Matt Miyoko of NBC Sports Bay Area, the 49ers will lose a 2025 fifth-rounder and a reduced 2024 fourth-rounder because of payroll accounting errors at the close of the 2022 season that result in misreporting of the club's cumulative payroll compensation. How the hell does that happen for a billion-dollar organization? How? How does a billion-dollar organization mess up on their payroll? Ridiculous. So now Apparently, it's being reported that there were no ill intent, meaning it wasn't done on purpose, but they have to, in fact, lose a 2025 fifth rounder, and they will move now all the way down to the bottom of the fourth round. Wonder if that affects the Eagles at all. Probably not. No, because the Eagles don't have a fourth round draft pick this year. Oh, yes, they do, because they picked up the Pittsburgh Steelers' fourth round draft pick. But I wonder if that would, what did they get for that? What did they get for Kenny Pickett? Let me see. So they got the 120. Yeah, I guess, no, it's not going to affect them. Not going to affect them. Because their fourth round pick's 120. That one's 131. Let's see what we got from Mr. Rudy Poo. Browns versus Eagles in Brazil. Browns player mentioned they play in Brazil this season on a pod. Yeah, Mr. Rudy Poo, we just mentioned that to Merrill Reese, who was on the show. So it does look like it's going to be Eagles and Browns, which I am happy about. I'm very happy that it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. I was worried that it was going to be the Green Bay Packers, which I want the Green Bay Packers in the link, because I think you look at all the teams, and that's probably, in my opinion, the team that I'm worried about most. Yeah, because we had narrowed it down. We knew it wasn't going to be one of the NFC East teams. You knew it wasn't going to be the Giants, Cowboys, or Commanders. It wasn't going to be the Carolina Panthers, because they're already playing in Germany, I believe. It wasn't going to be the Jaguars, because they play in London. So we knew it was either going to be the Browns, the Falcons, the Steelers, or the Packers. So out of all those teams, I think best case scenario, it's the Cleveland Browns. Maybe you can make the argument the Steelers, but I didn't want the Packers in Brazil. I wanted them at home. The Falcons, now that they have Kirk Cousins, are going to be a little bit tougher of an opponent. I wanted them truly at home. So you weren't getting Carolina, which would have been the ideal situation because they stink, but they're already playing overseas. So Cleveland Browns, that's what it looks like it's going to be. So that should be fun. But as we're talking about some of the best announcers of all time, because we just had Merrill Reese on the show, and you heard me talking about Gene Hart, and you heard me talking about Harry Kalas. Well, we end every Philly Sports Power Hour with a little Today in Sports History. Well, today, March 19th, 1927, another great Philadelphia announcer, wasn't a play-by-play guy, was the color commentary. March 19th, 1927, the great Richie Ashburn was born in Tilden, Nebraska. So in addition to being a great color analyst with Harry Kalas, he also was a great player, played 12 seasons with the Fightin' Phils, was a 6-time All-Star, was a 2-time National League batting champion, was the National League stolen base leader one season, is on the Phillies Wall of Fame, and now has his number 1 retired. So great Philly, and then a great color analyst with the great Harry Kalas. So interesting that the day we bring on Merrill Reese, one of the greatest voices in Philadelphia sports history, we also have Richie Ashburn's birthday as our Today in Sports History. So good show today. Glad that Merrill was able to join. Tomorrow we're going to be joined, like we are every Wednesday, by Kayla Santiago. That should be good. Talk a little Sixers with her, a little Eagles with her, get her take on some of these moves. Thursday, we should be joined by my man Mark Farzetta for our Thursdays with Farzy. And then as of now, Friday, Johnny Marks, my buddy John's going to join the show as well. So I do appreciate everybody who spends this hour with me. I tell you that every single day, but I really do appreciate it. I love seeing all the engagement in the chat. Even when I don't agree with you, still love to see it. Chuck Hutton praising Richie Ashburn a little bit. What a great pro in all ways, really was. Flexen and Steppen is excited that Kayla's joining tomorrow. What else we got in the chat before we roll? This is a good point by Saquon Barkley. Kelly Green matches the Brazil soccer team colors. Those are going to sell like crazy. Yeah, you think the NFL, you don't think they know what they're doing? They know what they're doing. 1000% they know what they're doing.